reliability, failures and crashes. Australia had it all this race weekend, and for Formula One this weekend we have a new winner. For the first time this season we have a non-Red Bull victor, and it comes in the field of Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. Just 2 weeks after having appendix surgery, he takes the checkered flag as the winner in a Ferrari 1-2 at Melbourne. If you haven't already and you are enjoying this content, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and in this top corner to stay tuned to all my Formula 1 and football content that's coming over the next few months. There's going to be a wide range of it, so make sure you stick around. So if we get into the race now, it was one that didn't have a mismatch of controversy. You see, you have Max Verstappen. He came out of the race really early doors with a brake failure. It set on fire. If you've seen the clip, it exploded in the pit lane as he was coming down the pits to retire from the race. Lewis Hamilton's engine seized up. Now, I was listening to his onboard with my AirPods in, and the way it just cut out, I felt like my AirPods had died. It just went from really loud to nothing in a split second. It was crazy, but absolutely nothing Lewis or Max could have done. Now, obviously, if you follow me on Twitter, you'd see I celebrated the Max DNF, because I think without Max, I think the field's a lot more interesting, and I think we've seen again today how bad of a driver Sergio Perez actually is. He is a very good midfield driver, but when it comes to a top team, he is not on the level at all, and it's something that needs to be looked into. I think I put it on Twitter during the race. Get Liam Lawson in the seat, or move Yuki up, or something like that. Like, you've got to change something at that Red Bull team, because Sergio Perez is just not it. Now, obviously, we've just spoke about Carlos Sainz winning the race, and for me, absolutely brilliant performance from Carlos Sainz. Even before Max Verstappen's failure, Carlos Sainz was ahead, but was it as a result of the problems that Max was having with his brakes? Max said in the media that it sounded like his brake pedal was stuck on, a bit like a handbrake. So it's one of those where it could happen to any driver. Unfortunately, it happened to Max. Fortunately for us, it happened to Max. So it gave us something a bit more interesting. Obviously, it gave the opportunity to those other teams around to seize upon it, and Carlos Sainz did exactly that just 2 weeks after surgery. It's absolutely mega drive from him, in my opinion. I thought he was absolutely outstanding for the majority of this race weekend, and I don't think many people will disagree. And I think for all the races this season, the driver of the day has been in that car, that second Ferrari. So that's good to see. Obviously, with the Lewis Hamilton failure, it's one of those where you listen to some of the things he's said in the media, and it doesn't seem like it's going to get any better for Mercedes over the next few races, and it's going to be a real struggle for them to actually do anything. And I was reading some of his comments and listening to some of his interviews, and for me, he looks and feels by the things he's saying that he's on the beach. He's not even interested. Like, he's just doing what he needs to do, treading water. I've said it a few times, and people keep telling me, oh, but that's not a champion's mentality. But at the end of the day, what is he supposed to do? He's not battling for a championship. Finishing P4 or P12 in the championship makes absolutely no difference to him. It's not going to change him for next season, sort of thing. And he was watching on at points. We saw it on the TV footage, and like, he was smiling with a glimmer. But was that to do with Ferrari being in the lead, having a 1-2? Because I think that's what it was to do with, rather than Mercedes' race. Obviously, we get further into the race. Sauber, another really long pit stop. I think there was one for Bottas and one for Zhou. I don't know what's going on down there. I believe they've changed their processes for pit stops, and they're struggling to sort of get onto it. They keep cross-threading the wheel nuts, which obviously isn't what you want in a pit stop, because you don't want to have to get a new wheel nut. So that happened, but that's just them changing their processes. They'll figure it out eventually. I think anybody related to Ferrari is massively happy right now. You look at Lewis Hamilton, and that move to Ferrari is looking like, again, a bit like his Mercedes move, an absolutely inspired move heading into 2025, because I'm not saying that they'd have won the race if Max Verstappen wasn't having his issues, but they certainly would have been in with a shot, because Max never seemed to pull away, but I don't know how big the issue was with the brakes. I don't know how early the braking issue came on, but it it looks like a really, really good move, and I think everybody can agree with that now. At the time, some people doubted it. Now, a year ago, if you'd have told me Lewis Hamilton moving to Ferrari was going to be a good move, I'd have told you absolutely not, because Ferrari were sort of dropping down the order and Mercedes were sort of finding their feet a little bit, and they were still in a bit of a mixed concept, and it was like, it just didn't seem like the right decision to make. But I tell you something, the way Ferrari have come into this season, the way they've handled the race today, and you think Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc potentially finishing in a 1-2 at points next season, it's going to be very exciting in 2025. Obviously, Max Verstappen's going to be disappointed with his reliability. Sauber, their pit stops, are going to be disappointed. But then you've got George Russell. Now, I'm not, obviously, I don't want to put too much blame on George, right? Because it has come out post-race that Fernando Alonso has been given 3 penalty points and also a 20-second penalty for his actions before the George Russell crash. But for me, I think this is the second or third time when George has been chasing someone down on the final few laps and he's binned it. Now, obviously, dirty air affects these cars. Dirty air has always affected Formula 1 cars. As much as you try and take away the dirty air, you can't, really. It's always going to have an impact in one way or another. You can't really manage it because they've tried to do that and it hasn't worked. So, but telemetry showed Alonso lifted and broke and sort of got Russell in the dirty air of him, which obviously then put Russell's car was unstable. Now, we mentioned it yesterday in the qualifying review that Mercedes car's on a knife edge. It is on a knife edge, and we mentioned yesterday how the wind impacted like the runs for Hamilton and George, and again, dirty air has impacted the car and sent George into the wall. Now, for me, looking at George Russell, I think we're now at a period where Mercedes don't see him as a potential number one driver when Lewis leaves. There's a reason why Lewis is still doing all the experiments, and I think it speaks volumes to how they're looking at George. We've seen now on numerous occasions he's binned it on the final laps attacking somebody, or he's binned it in a race at attacking somebody. I think there was Canada last year where he hit a wall chasing down Fernando Alonso, where there was on for a double podium. There's obviously Singapore where he was right behind the lead pack, cooked his tyres and went into the wall because he hit the wall on the way into the corner. And then you've got today getting caught out by the dirty air of Fernando Alonso and chucked himself in the wall. What would he have done if he was right up on the gearbox of Fernando Alonso? Would that still have happened? Sort of thing. So it's very interesting to look at. Now, obviously, it's an absolutely massive day for the championship because you've got Ferrari have closed in massively on Red Bull. Just going to get the constructors and driver standings up now. Ferrari have closed up. Leclerc has closed up on Max Verstappen. Carlos Sainz has closed up. Perez has closed up. You've now got Charles Leclerc within 4 points of Max Verstappen. Perez is only 5 points behind Max, and then Sainz is 11. Now, if you go over to the constructors, there's a 6. It's not even a 6-point difference. It's a 4-point difference between the two teams. So that's going to be mega interesting. Now, obviously, I go back to my pre-season predictions, and my prediction of Mercedes finishing second or third is well out of the way at the moment. They're a long way behind, and they don't look like getting anywhere close. Obviously, if we want to talk about Formula 2, Paul Aron picked up another superb podium this weekend. Zane Maloney again on the podium. Isaac Hadjar, after losing his race win yesterday, wins again today. So it's looking like a really good field, that Formula 2 field. Kimi Antonelli finished P4. He'll probably be disappointed with a P4, but started on the front row for the first time this weekend. Finished P4 after a spin yesterday. Made some very, very impressive overtakes, and is a driver definitely to look out for. So, yeah, I'm going to do a full race review for Formula 2, a full weekend review that will come out over the next couple of days, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Also, going to have a load of other content on the channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.